Insanity, insanity, whatever happened to humanity?
The Quarry is a 2022 interactive horror game that has been developed by Supermassive Games and has been published by 2K Games. Players must assume control of 9 teenage counselors who must survive their last night in Hackett's Quarry summer camp amongst supernatural creatures and violent locals. Players must make many choices throughout the game which may significantly impact character development, relationships, the story's plot, and ending. All 9 players may survive or die depending on the player's decision. I thought this game was indeed fun. In fact, I had so much fun with this game to the point where I kept coming back for more. That's why it took me so long to do this review. Now, interactive games like this, we have been there and done that. There are so many interactive games like this, you really can't avoid them. There's so many out there, like the Telltale games, The Walking Dead, Batman. They made Guardians of the Galaxy, if I'm not mistaken. There's so many turn-based interactive games when it comes to drama, horror, comedy, and action. Now, I practically played almost all of them, and I played so much of them to the point where I couldn't even find my favorite. I have played Beyond Two Souls, I have played Until Dawn, I played Heavy Rain, I played Detroit Become Human, and I even went as far as playing the PS2 original game, Indigo Prophecy. But again, I haven't found a favorite. I haven't found a game that was like this that made me go back and try to find every single ending, find every single character development cycle to see how they would end up if I chose their path correctly. But this game, The Quarry, I'm gonna have to say, this might be one of my favorite ones. It holds the torch. People been asking me, is this game scary? Is this game as horrific as it shows in the trailer? Yes. This game is freaking scary. In fact, this game is so scary to the point where I can tell that the developers and the producers has used certain elements of this game that make us, that is fans of horror games and horror movies, familiarize of what we were witnessing. If you play this game, you're going to get feels of Resident Evil, of course. Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 8, movies such as The Hills Have Eyes, Christina's House, and an anime also, such as Biohunter, when it comes to the creatures that comes across you on the game you have to fight to survive. With the game's terminology of you recognizing the horror aspects, it mixes it up so you can be not just familiarized with the certain type of horror elements, but it still pulls you in to the point where you still be on the edge of your seat. You still get scared, you still get pulled in, and at the same time, you still get shooken up of what's thrown at you. And even with the soundtrack, I can tell by the mixture of the soundtrack, they added a lot of Stranger Things vibes to it as well, which I did not mind. I thought the game mixture of the familiarizations of what we look into in this generation matched this game terminology. Anybody that played this game can recommend people playing it, but at the same time, if this game came out back then, it'll be pretty much ahead of its time. People would not stop talking about this game. As it being scary, what I like about this game is that it knows when to be scary. It knows how to be scary. And it does not pull you away at all. Now, a lot of horror games, a lot of horror movies, a lot of horror shows, they do good when it comes to you getting pulled in from start to the middle. But right after the third half, or right when you begin to figure things out, that's when the horror is gone. That's when the thrill is gone, because things make sense, things are not scary, and things end up being ridiculous. The Quarry isn't like that. When I ended up finding out what was going on with the game, when I was finding out what was coming after them, what was trying to kill them and stuff, it ended up making me get even more scared, because I was like, man, like, are they going to be able to get through to this? And a lot of movies and a lot of horror games and a lot of horror shows need to learn from the Quarry. Because once we begin to figure things out with horror movies and shows and stuff, it ends up turning to a sci-fi. It ends up becoming a drama or a thriller. It ends up being all over the place. Even Resident Evil is guilty of the same thing. The Quarry stays in its lane. It does not lose its touch with the horror. Even though they have some comedy, even though it has some drama, but you can't avoid that in a game like this. But they know when to do that, and they know when not to do that. And that's what I like about this game so much, is that it doesn't quench the character. It does not quench the player, is what I'm saying. As for the characters, I don't really have a favorite character on here. There was 3 characters on this game that I did not want to get killed off, but it was they stood out for me to the point where they kind of was like the main premise of the game. Everybody played their part out so much to the point where if it was for each of the other characters that I didn't mention, most of the characters probably would have gotten killed off. Unlike certain other games that's interactive, if some characters didn't do much, they won't really react too much when it comes to the plot. But each of the characters on here, you got to make sure that you make the right choices. Which what kind of made me didn't really choose no favorites, because all the characters stood out for me to the point where I liked them all. As for the pacing of the characters, I admit it does drag in the beginning of the game. They show a prologue to let you get pulled in a little bit, but at the same time, after the prologue, it drags, but that's because it wanted to show you the area of Hackett's Quarry, as each of the characters you play as do a little tour of you showing the environment, so you really don't get pulled in by the character development, but it all pays in by later gameplay as you play as each character, and you know their ins and outs, who they like, who they dislike, and what their fears is, and what their strengths are. I thought that was smart, I thought it was well warranted, but it played a big gambling game by us being a little bored with the first half of the game. Other than collectibles, this game is bursting with so much content and so much features to the point where you don't just want to get pulled in and try to play the game over and over and over to get everything right when it comes to the choices you make, but the collectibles are worth a damn also. When you collect certain things such as cards or evidence and stuff, that stuff plays a part in the game also. And people actually talk about this stuff. I don't want to spoil too much, but the stuff you collect in the game, they do matter. They do matter a lot. So make sure you be on the lookout and make sure you're investigating, make sure you circle around the area, because that stuff do plays a part in the whole game criminology. Now, as for the certain features of the game, they actually went all out to add certain things of the game when it comes to movie mode. Movie mode is just you just standing still and you just watching as you progress and as you see the choices you made after you beat the game, and just see how things played out, and that's what I'm kind of doing right now. Then you have cooperative mode, which I thought was pretty interesting, and all that is just you play with a friend online or local, and y'all can choose certain choices with each character to see if it's the right choice or the bad choice. Now it can cause some controversy too, because this game, when it comes to horror games and horror movies, people have their own different types of way of how they survive. So you might end up cursing out your friends when it comes to doing dumb shit. But I like that because it shows you how people will react when their back is against the wall when it comes to survival tactics. Now, this is one of the best horror games out here right now when it comes to interaction, when it comes to you being in the realization of the character's mindset. But this game is lacking something that all the other interactive games is lacking: the difficulty. This game is so freaking easy. What I mean by that is by 2 aspects. One aspect is the fact that the game is common sense. You have choices on this game and it puts you in the back of the wall, but unlike a lot of those games that I mentioned, like Heavy Rain or Beyond Two Souls, or hell, even Until Dawn, there are choices of the game where you have to literally think, is this the right choice? Is this the bad choice? And some of those right choices do impact the characters that may inflict on the future. But on this, it's just common sense. Common sense questions, as into something's banging on the door. Should I open the door? No, because you don't know who it is. There's a gun on the floor. Should I pick it up? Yeah, because you need the gun. You get stabbed right here in the artery. Should I pull the knife out? No, because you're going to bleed out. Common sense questions such as that. And if you have a common sense brain, you're going to survive pretty quickly. And then not only that, but the game is too fucking easy when it comes to the QTE and the buttons you need to press. Unlike the other games that I mentioned, like Beyond Two Souls and Heavy Rain, where you have to press all sorts of buttons so you can get out of certain situations, this one lacks that. This game, when you get out of certain situations, or when you go into a fight, or when you try to jump a certain obstacle, or when you're trying to climb a certain ladder, or when you're trying to escape a certain enemy, you got to press one button and use a directional pad. If you own a PS5 or a PS4, you are going to have an orgy pressing the circle button a lot. And I am not making that up. The game also has a life simulator. What I mean by that is that if you lose a character, if your character dies, you have 3 lives. So you can bring that character back and you can literally correct what you have fucked up. It's a good thing and it's a bad thing. It was a good thing for me because if it wasn't for that feature, 3 of those characters that I just brought up would have gotten killed. They would have gotten killed. Not just because of what I mentioned, because like I said, the game is easy, but because there were times where I was so interacted by the game's CGI and like the realization of how the game was looking, to the point where I was literally just, I had my controller down, but then when something happened, I tried to pick the controller up and they ended up getting killed off. So that was a good thing to have, but the bad thing, but it's bad to me because it lacks a challenge. I want to be to the point where I can learn from my fuck-ups and I can literally progress through the game knowing that I fucked up. Beyond Two Souls, Heavy Rain, and I keep mentioning these, but that's one thing that this game lacked, is that the fact that if those games, if a character has died in those games, especially Until Dawn, you're paying for that. That character is not showing up until you complete the game and you have to start over. But this one, you have 3 lives, use them wisely. But if you use any common sense, they're not going to get killed. If you pay attention, you're not going to get killed. If your circle button on your PlayStation is not fucking up, then your characters are not going to get killed. So at the end of the day, this game is good. This game is not bad. This game is great in my opinion. It's rough in those edges that I mentioned, but at the same time, all I'm saying is this. The game is good, but it could be a little bit more, no, it could be a hell of a lot more difficult. This game is based on real life action. This game is based on real life choices, which is common sense. And this game is based on real life activities. So let us go through these characters by how they progress in a way where it can be relatable and realistic. I feel like if this was just like this in real life, I probably would not mind spending a night in Hackett's Quarry if it was that easy. I'm gonna have to give the Quarry a B-. Guys, like I mentioned, this game is good. This game is fantastic. In fact, I think I would have a lot more of a fun time playing this game if I have friends over. I'm bringing my girlfriend over this weekend, so we're going to play this a lot. But at the same time, I can't ignore the issues that I mentioned. Well, that's all I have to say for today. Please stay tuned for more of my upcoming reviews and videos. Hit it your way. This is Hugo, your critic teacher, and you guys have a good day.